Hi, I am John Collada. I am the build manager with Green Our Planet, and we are here at Kesterson Elementary this morning to install the pollinator garden. A pollinator garden is a garden meant to attract native pollinators such as hummingbirds, bees, butterflies. The milkweed is to attract the monarch butterfly. Their populations have dwindled almost completely in the past, however, many years, due to pesticides and urban sprawl. In a conservation effort, we're providing this milkweed as a source of food for the monarch butterflies. This area here will be the location for our pollinator garden. And we're going to plant 6 native species that are native to the Mojave Desert. And then we will plant anywhere between 10 and 12 milkweeds. Okay, so the very first thing we are going to do is start laying out for the plants. Now what we have here today, this is a brittle bush. This is a Virgin River brittle bush. This is a Parry Penstemon. The hummingbirds go bananas for these. This is a Palmer's Penstemon. And this is a bicolor penstemon. And I purchased all of these native plants at the state nursery. So if you want a true native, I would definitely recommend taking a trip up to the state nursery. Beautiful plant material, very reasonably priced. And each one of these was about $7. So we have the 5 plants that we're going to put in this pollinator garden, along with a 6th plant, which is the globe mallow, which we don't have at the moment. So what we're going to do instead is just plant an empty container, and we'll come back to it and plant it at a later time. Now, when we're ready to lay out plants, the first thing that I like to do is lay out the structure, and that would be your largest plants. So definitely the thing that I lay out first is the globe mallow. These things grow extremely large, extremely fast. So by the time you come out here next year, this globe mallow is going to be 4 to 5 feet tall and just as wide. So what I typically do is put the globe mallow in the middle of the garden somewhere and then work the other plants around it. So I'm just going to roughly, if it wasn't a windy day, I would sort of just place the container and then come back to it. But since I know it's just going to blow away, that will be the spot for our globe mallow. The next largest plant that we're going to lay out are the brittle bush. So we'll do one to fill up this corner right here. As far as spacing with these larger plants, I would definitely recommend to go at the very least 4 feet, ideally 5 feet. So we'll just kind of walk it off. Kind of place it there for now. We may lay the plants out, take a look at it, come back and decide we want to shift some things. So this penstemon, we will go right in this corner here. It's a beautiful plant, so I really want to feature this prominently in the garden. The next thing we'll do is this is the bicolor penstemon. This will also get very large. So what we will do actually is we'll brittle bush, penstemon, another brittle bush, a penstemon. We want to keep them most likely at least 2 feet off of the edge. Probably tuck this guy back a little bit. And so the last thing we have to lay out is the Palmer's Penstemon, which we'll do in this area. Now we're going to take a step back and take a look at it and see what we think. It looks like we have a lot of height back there and really too much area here for the milkweed. So we're gonna go ahead and adjust a little bit. Go ahead and pull this guy out a little bit more. Eventually this will fill up this entire area. We'll bring this penstemon a little bit closer to the edge. Globe mallow will not change. Okay, we may even come back and shift it again, but this is a good starting point. So now what we can do is start laying out our milkweed. So what we have here are two different varieties of milkweed. We have the rush milkweed, the subulata, and we have the desert milkweed, erosa. We're going to plant a variety, depending on how many will fit in this area. We'll most likely do 6 rush and 6 desert. Now, we read an interesting article that said when you're planting the milkweed, it's best to do it on the perimeter. So we're gonna do a line of milkweed on the front perimeter of the garden. So we'll have a area here, again, 2 feet off the edge. And roughly 3 foot spacing is what I like to do. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. 1, 2, 3. So we did a row of 6 rush milkweed. Now we're going to do some desert milkweed. 3, 2. Let's shift some plants as we go to make sure everything fits nicely. And we may have to do a little bit of adjusting so we could fit more milkweed in here. What we may do is shift this brittle bush more down towards the middle so we're able to fit a few more plants in here. 2, 3, 3, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Shift this guy over. Okay. Go put this guy more in the corner. Okay. We'll bump this guy in a bit. So this layout looks good to me. Each plant is on its own to sort of stay a specimen. Nothing looks like it's going to get too crowded. Spacing looks good. I think we're ready to plant. Okay, so if we're on DG, we just want to move the DG out of our way. We do not want to plant in this. Okay, we will go ahead and cut this fabric away. Clear a little bit of this DG out of here so we can use our clean soil there. We definitely do not want to mix our soil in with the DG. Okay. Just be extremely careful when we're taking the plants out. A plant in a pot for too long, the roots just want to grow around in a circle. So when we take it out of the container to plant it, we slice the roots to promote them to spread outwards. So now another thing I like to pay attention to is sort of the presentation of the plant. So if all the flowers are here, then I want to put it there so it can be, because I think this will be the main vantage point. This will be what you see first, which is why I put this plant here, just for presentation purposes. So you can see how sandy this soil is. What we want to do is we want to add a soil amendment. This will improve the water holding capacity of sandy soil like this. And you can pretty much use anything you want, I think. I like this Dr. Q's plant mix you get it at Star Nursery. It's about $10 for a 2 cubic foot square bag. And one bag will last 2 to 3 pollinator gardens. So it's really inexpensive. So what I do is take equal parts native soil, equal parts soil amendment. And then what I like to do, this isn't absolutely necessary, but I really like to use blood meal. When I was doing these gardens last year, I started experimenting with it a little bit and found that the ones I used it on, the plants looked fabulous. And then the ones I didn't use it on, they didn't look so good. So I really think that has something to do with it. This isn't a liberal use as much as you want type of thing. You just need a very small amount. They say about a tablespoon for every foot of plant. So that's about 2 tablespoons. So we're just gonna take a pinch of it, add it to the soil. We're gonna mix everything up. So now we have a good planting mix that is not just all sand. Before I start backfilling the soil, I wanna go ahead and just get it nice and watered. And we want to check our depth. If anything, we want to plant just a touch high because the plant will settle a little bit. So probably about, if you do, probably about an inch, about an eighth. We're just going to carefully you don't have to really compact it very hard, but you just want to be firm enough with it so the plant will sort of stay in place. You can see it's a windy day. So now we have this guy planted. Now we're gonna go ahead and water it again. And that's good. Now we will move on to the next one. So this, even though this is such a small plant, you do want to take the time and prep it as deeply as you can. The milkweed grows off a taproot, so the taproot is just going to grow directly down. So we want to get as deep as we can with loose soil to where the root's trying to find its way down. It doesn't have to go through a bunch of hard soil. So we're just gonna soften it up, and yeah, it's pretty good. And then we'll kind of do the same thing. We'll take a little bit, about a handful of soil amendment, a very small pinch of blood meal, mix it all up, and we are ready to plant. You want to be very, very careful with the milkweed. Most of the times you'll take it out and it'll just completely fall apart on you, but not all the time. One thing I would try to avoid ever doing though is taking the plant with your fingers and trying to pull it out like that. What I usually do is just cut it out. So we cut it. And it came out okay. They usually fall apart on you. And then I plant it just deep enough to where you can get it to sort of prop up on its own. So now we want to go ahead and just fill them up with water. Now, in order to protect the milkweed, what we then do is you'll take a plastic cup. I like the ones with the square bottoms as opposed to the round ones. These are easier to work with. These cost a little bit more. They I wouldn't recommend using inexpensive cups that you'll find wherever. It's better to put a little bit of money into these. If you buy the cheaper cup, when you try to put it in, it just sort of falls apart on you. So spending a little bit extra for a good cup here really makes a difference. So now I'm just putting the cup, kind of sliding it in the soil so it'll stay. And this will just protect it from the wind and people. We've had instances where people come out and, to weed the garden, pulling out the milkweed, thinking it's an undesirable weed. So the cup is just to note the fact that this plant's here for a purpose. And eventually it'll have pretty labels and everything else. So this is a finished milkweed, and we'll just kind of move the DG back around it to kind of support it and keep it in place so the wind doesn't come along and just blow everything away. So that would be a milkweed. So now we're going to, and we'll water a couple more times before it's all said and done, but we'll just go ahead and give it a little bit of water here. And that is a milkweed. So how the irrigation works is we're already stubbed up here. So again, all we did was we took the closest tree, all of the trees are on irrigation, tied into the water here, and then ran our water line to the pollinator garden so we can run the water off of our tree line. This is a little shutoff valve. So we're gonna put this guy on here. So if they ever wanna water the trees, but they don't necessarily wanna water this for any reason, all you would have to do is turn that, and that would just stop all the water to this pollinator garden. Okay, so now we'll hook in our 1/2-inch poly line here. Okay, we'll run our water line. Okay, we'll get some staples here just to hold it all down. We'll go ahead and end it here. We'll put one of these end caps on. Okay. And then now what we're going to do is run the 1/4-inch spaghetti to each plant. This is a little hole punch. You can get these at Star Nursery, very cheap, 60 cents. You poke a hole in the 1/2-inch poly. This guy comes in handy, this fat end. You could put your 1/4-inch coupler right in there. Snap it in. Okay, so we'll just simply attach this. Figure out how much we need. And we want it just outside of the plant. So if this is this container that the plant came in, you're gonna want the emitter right on the edge of it. So we'll just leave it a little bit long for a moment. Sort of tuck it in. So this is a 0.5 gallon emitter. The blue is 0.5. You'll see a black one that's 1 gallon or a red one that is 2 gallon. The reds we usually use for trees. The black, the 1 gallons are for larger shrubs. These work well for this size plant. So we'll just simply put the emitter on the edge of the spaghetti, but before we do that, what we would want to do is flush the line. And I can actually show you that real quick. So all the plants would have the irrigation set up like that. And before we want to put the emitters on, we just want to go ahead and flush out any dirt or anything that might have gotten in the line, which could really very easily clog up the emitters, especially those 0.5 gallon ones. So we're just going to clean it out. I usually take the end of the end cap off and do the same thing. Okay, so it's really important to clean out the line well before you put the emitters on. Bury this 1/4 inch line. We're not going to do it here, but if there were plants back here, what we could have done is, so this is the same as a 1/4 inch coupler, except it's a T. So we could have teed this off right here, had a little piece of spaghetti going up like this, and then continue down to more plants. But the thing you want to remember if you're going to do that is you can't exceed 15 feet or else you're going to start to lose water pressure. And then when we're kind of, cleaning up after ourselves and smoothing the DG back out, we just want to make sure we don't pile a bunch of DG on top of the plant. So just kind of keep it away and just have this be bare soil. I would cut this down to a more grade level size. And put the emitter on and it's good to go. Okay, so this is our signage that we display out in every garden. You can actually also register as a Monarch Way station, and that would be, a separate sign. But this is the Green Our Planet sign that we display out in the garden. It just gives you the facts about the pollinator gardens that I've kind of already talked about. And now we want to find a place to display them. So here, there's a fence pretty close that we can mount it on the fence, or we could get stakes and mount it in the garden. But each garden comes with signage. And then what we'll do is we'll also go back to the individual plants and, they'll get handmade signage as well. Again, I'm John. I'm the builds manager. This is a pollinator garden. Thank you so much for your time.